Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Am I coming through?
Yes, you're coming through lovely. How about myself?
Yes, I can hear you, so that's an improvement.
Beautiful. Your voice resonates deep within me. You sound lovely, and I think we're about to have ourselves an excellent conversation. I hope at least, because I have been stonewalling you for 2 months, and I feel very bad about that.
3 months, actually. I think it might be slightly longer than 2 months now.
Damn. I'm a piece of shit. Really, I'm just super bad at keeping up with my appointments, so to speak.
That's fine. I've got a couple of people that just haven't responded to me at all, so this is
Fuck those people. They're worse than me.
Slight improvement. Yeah. So
how's your day going?
I just listened to like your thing before you brought me on, and it's just like you talking like a calm, like nice stream. I'm like looking at my questions, just being like, maybe it's possible. It's plausible.
Hey, you know what? I'm here for it. Is this being recorded on your end? Do you plan on using this for a video yourself, or is this just content that you...
I am recording this, if that's okay. I'll probably cut it down to like a 5-minute video.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Like sweet.
All right, I want you... Listen, not a moment to spare. I want you to hit me up. Give me those deep, deep questions, okay? Really fuck me up in the public eye.
Okay, well, I'll try and... I'll do a quick disclaimer off the bat, because I already know I'm going to get people on Twitter or something telling me that I'm a, I don't know, vouch, like, sympathizer or apologist or some shit. Which is, they can go fuck themselves.
Good, strong response.
Yeah, that's not a fair character. You know, just talking to someone doesn't automatically mean that you agree with everything that they've done, ever. I mean, otherwise, how would you ever talk to anybody? So I just want to clarify that, because I know people are going to be shitty about it.
Yeah, probably. Those are people whose opinions are not worth considering, to be perfectly honest.
Probably true, but they are loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
We're going to start off nice and light. I don't want to go too heavy. Just quick. Why do you make leftist content?
Beyond the fact, I assume, that I am a leftist.
Yeah. I mean, but there are a lot of leftists out there who don't make leftist content, who just sit around, I guess.
On a personal level, I've always idealized the streamer lifestyle. I grew up with streams being my predominant mode of entertainment, at least post me being 13 or 14 years old, when that actually became a thing. I've always really liked streaming as a concept. I like that intimacy. It feels like a distillation of the public figure to a very natural, very, I think, essential essence. And I like that. I like that. I've always wanted to do that. The fact that I am now able to do that is something of which I am both very proud and very humbled by. Secondarily, the left is absolute dog shit at addressing certain elements of reactionary rhetoric. We are very bad at debate, we are very bad at producing content quickly, and we are very bad at reaching out towards people in the center or even center-right. I felt as though my particular approach to leftism, which is by no means unique, I'm not like special or anything. What I am is antithetical to the social goals of many people who previously resided in the leftist space online. And I think that voice adds a very valuable component to leftism. I wanted to throw my hat into the ring.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's quite a big thing that I've definitely talked to people about, is this idea of not just diversity with regards to like, hey, we need more like trans people or more people of color kind of thing, but also diversity with the content as well. In left tube specifically.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's all video essays.
Different stuff.
It's all video essays for the most part. And video essays are lovely, lovely things. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I watch them. But at the end of the day, the push for leftism has to be a multidisciplinary force. We can't just maintain this academically pure sort of ivory tower approach where all leftist rhetoric is delivered in these little sound bites of well-researched, video essay formatting. We need to have the leftist pay-per-view WWE matches. We need to have the leftist newspapers. We need to have the leftist billboards that are on the wavy flags that are dragged by planes in the beachside. We need to approach this in a wide variety of mediums, and this is, well, one we've been ignoring.
Just people get out there with signs on the streets, like the Westboro Baptist Church do. Just get out there with signs saying socialism, like communism, like death to the capitalist pigs kind of thing. Like, we need to get the message out there every possible way. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's an important thing that is missed a lot by people who kind of like, because I mean, if you look at like bread tube, left tube, I use them interchangeably, and people always get pissy about it, because people are dicks.
Yeah.
But the like bread tube, let's call it bread tube. Bread tube is like primarily has been these very academic, very well processed, well put together, but they're ultimately, when you think about them, you're like, I can remember like one or 2 points from that, and the rest of it was a bunch of jargon that I don't really understand or get.
Yeah.
And I think that misses a lot of people who don't have that like academic background and just want someone who's snappy and emotional and relatable to just hit them with some good shit.
Yeah, it's also not just the level of the content, because while I don't engage with theory as much as I probably should, I do have a decent level of education on these topics, which is necessary to do what I do. You can't like come up with snappy answers unless you have a pretty decent understanding of the broader subject material being discussed. It's not just about like dumbing it down or like bringing it out to more people. It's also recognizing that people learn in different ways. Some people learn best from having like a lesson calmly explained to them by a smarty pants on YouTube, or through like one of Philosophy Tube's little script plays, which are delightful. But some people learn best just by watching people scream. That's a very valid form of discourse. And I don't know. I genuinely hope that I and Hassan, and to a lesser extent Destiny, are just the front edge of what will soon become a very broad, multidisciplinary approach towards leftist rhetoric.
Yeah, to a much lesser extent for Destiny, yeah. I find.
Yes.
I like. Okay, for the record, I don't know. I'm assuming you must have liked Destiny once too for a while. Like, I still think he's like entertaining, but holy shit, like he went hardcore on the capitalist stuff like so fast.
I could make a decent case for being one of his biggest fans, actually. I've been a fan of his for a decade. He was the person I first got my exposure online with, and he is the only reason I know how to do half of what I can do. Rhetorically speaking, I mean. It's true, though. He's a capitalist-y, centrist-y. This arc has not been good, in my opinion.
No, it has been a rough couple of... Ever since him and Hassan had a little fallout, and it was very funny.
Yeah.
Which was that I watched like a little of that, and I was like, I don't care anymore. And I stopped. Okay, so that's good. I think we know why you make stuff. So move on to number 2. If you could define your political beliefs in a single sentence, this is a challenge. How could you define that as a single sentence, just like for people?
It's actually easy for me because my anti-sectarian bent here really helps me out with the non-specificity. I'm a progressive leftist, and that is not ambiguity for the sake of laziness. It's ambiguity deliberate, because I'm of the opinion that right now we live in a capitalist society, and the range of people who have different views, but nonetheless fall under the broader tree of capitalist, is greater, in my opinion, than the vast majority of leftists and the differences you'll see between communists and anarchists and all of the various flavors therein. I don't like the fact that we encourage intellectual sectarianism amongst ourselves while letting people get away with broad definitions amidst their own community because they have shared interests. I don't think there's any need to argue with a communist if you're an anarchist or vice versa. We have work to do right now, and that's seizing the means of production. That's the next step. After we've done that, we can discuss whatever society might come next.
Yeah, I definitely I started out, especially like near the start of this year, being very much quite a sectarian. Like I was like, I would never ever work with anybody who wasn't like, anarcho-syndicalism kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had some great arguments with a couple of extreme tankies, which, while I didn't come around to their views, I definitely saw a different side of things from the way they describe stuff. Because it's one of the interesting things I think I saw from that was that it's very easy for people who live in countries where you kind of see a lot of the benefits from capitalism, i.e., you get all the goods and the movies and the TV shows and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to be like, okay, sweet, yeah, we can do a slow revolution, do like we can take our time, move politics, so along that gradient kind of thing. But if you're living in a society where like your like children are fucking working 14 hours a day just to make enough money so you can buy food for the family. I can see why those people will be like, nah, fuck that noise. Like, I don't want to slow. I want to like take over now because we're stuck in the worst situation we can possibly think of.
You're
So of
speaking
course we
to
want like
the Unru like third worldist perspective, where the framework of revolutionary dialectic should be centered around the needs of the developing world people rather than the developed world people.
yeah. And a couple of people definitely like, call me out on like that way of thinking, and I appreciate those people for calling me out because it's helped me be like, actually, you're right. They're right. Like, I definitely have a very focused Western view of a lot of the world, and that's probably a really shitty thing for me. And
The end
I
result
need to
is
check that.
Possadism, probably. Communism born of nuclear hellfire. It seems like a good unifying sort of mantra for us all to rally around.
That is one of the like I have talked to people about this, and I've been saying like I'm pretty certain that we're inevitably going to have some sort of horrendous like violent uprising at some point. I don't think it's possible for it to not happen. I don't know if I'm pro or against that, but if it brings about communism and just spells the death of capitalism, I'm not going to cry too much. But yeah, I think I don't think there's any way capitalism is going to be gone unless there's a violent revolution.
Oh, no,
basically.
100%. Yeah, I'm very much a revolutionary in that respect. Though I don't think that the material conditions are ripe yet. I think that we need to wait, class consciousness, blah, blah, blah. It might be spreading faster in the developed world than the developing one. If they revolt, it might lead to economic consequences here in the States that might facilitate a paradigm shift for our movement as well. But no, I agree. My eyes right now are on the developing world. They will set the pace for the global revolution, which is a little bit scary because most people in the developing world don't speak English, and that's the language my videos are in, which means they're not benefiting from my wisdom. So I don't know how that revolution's going to turn out, but I'm hoping for the best.
You just need to get a translator set up. Somebody just like can just convert all of your like videos into a different
Quick,
language.
get Vosh on the line before we hit the revolution button. We need to make sure it's the right one.
Anyway, so next question. We've probably already answered this maybe a little bit, but what is your opinion on the idea of having left tube or bread tube as an actual community?
I think it's fucking stupid. I don't really like communities as I don't like the prescriptive nature of communities. I don't like the idea that in addition to whatever people want to be, they also have to adhere. It's like a homeowners organization, but for YouTube. Or a homeowners association. My apologies. I do the content I want to do. Other people will do the content they want to do. There isn't much of a rhetorical benefit to forcing people in line to a certain set of standards. Like, for instance, if a person does marginally left-leaning content, like say, for example, Head. Are you familiar with her?
I am briefly aware of her, mostly from her old stuff.
Yeah, Head's come a long way since her old stuff, and while I would hardly call her a leftist, she's, over the past 6 months or so, done some pretty good progressive stuff, and she's actively distanced herself from a lot of the more reactionary elements of the community she used to associate with. There's a big meme going on Twitter right now about whether or not she's a part of BreadTube. I don't, being honest, I don't think she is, but also I don't think it matters. We're not going to be able to force people into a mold that people don't work that way. We're not going to get good content that way. So we should accept people for who they are, and if we feel they have a benefit to this leftism, rhetorically, if they serve the revolution or when it may come, then I think we should reach out to them and maybe try to guide them in a direction. Whatever the case is, using prescriptive social tools like calling something bread tube or left tube only serves to the detriment of people who don't fit like the orthodox model for what kind of content should be produced from that community.
Yeah, that's a fair analysis. I definitely, obviously I do focus a bit on this idea that I like the idea of people using BreadTube, but only in a way of using it to attempt to get resources into the hands of people that need them, basically. So I'm a big fan of the ideas of like, hey, do fucking charity streams, do like incubators to try to get people whose voices aren't being heard because of the like economic situations they're in, to get them cameras, to get them fucking mics, to get them whatever they need to get out there and make new content that we can like see their shit, kind of thing.
There's also value in solidarity for spamming the YouTube algorithm so we can exploit it in the same way right-leaning people have.
Exactly. I mean, did you see I don't know how much of like I think was it Peter Coffin or somebody? I don't know how much of his stuff you see, but he might have been him. I think he did he looked at the amount of money that Ben Shapiro and PragerU spend a week on the fucking ads on Facebook and stuff,
Tens
and it was
of thousands of dollars.
yeah, ridiculous amounts of money, more money than I make in a year, easy, in 1 week. Which is, I mean, how do you fight that unless you have a large group of people?
It's wild. All we would need is literally one billionaire, just one mad lefty billionaire. Or it's like Soros. Come on, man, you've got the memes already. Just pile it through. If we could get any even a fraction of the support the right-leaning YouTube channels got financially, we could catch up very quickly in the algorithms, pushing out ads, paying bot farms to tie our video algorithms to other video types so people stumble across left-leaning videos more easily. We can we could do it so easily, but it takes money, and we don't have that.
Yeah, I think it's I always love that meme of the George Soros paying people money thing, and it's if he fucking was, you would see a lot more leftist shit around, wouldn't you?
Soros, please.
But apparently he's way too invested in making more money. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, he's just a slightly more progressive than usual billionaire. Whatever. Fuck him. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it reminds me of that fucking news article with all the billionaires and stuff saying the world's never been in a better place right now. And it's of course it fucking hasn't. You're a billionaire in a capitalist society. Every year's a great year for a billionaire. So I just fucking eat the rich, that shit.
I'm very anti-political violence on this stream. Be careful.
I'm not advocating. I'm advocating meme violence.
Oh no!
Make memes about eating the rich people. Come on. But no, I've made videos before talking about political violence and stuff, and I find it one of those really stupid things where it's people have the ideas of this is okay violence that's not political violence, and this is bad violence that is political violence. It's well, basically most forms of violence are political violence when they're done by a state or a group or something. That's kind of how it works.
I mean, I'm extreme, memes aside, I'm extremely pro political violence. I'm 100% in favor of literally any revolutionary action against any groups. Hypothetically, in Minecraft, I think that any steps whatsoever taken to defeat the Ender Dragon are valid. That is my perspective.
Of course,
the Ender Dragon.
The Ender Dragon has to die.
Has to go. Yeah, it has to go.
Has to go. We can all agree on that. I think the Ender Dragon having to go.
Yeah,
that's a unity thing there. But yeah, I just on that point, violence, I mean, literally, the American Civil War, the War of Independence, was political fucking violence, and that's okay, right? Most people, patriots, would agree that's a good violence, but that was literally a revolution by people to break away from a community. It's just so I hate.
They'll literally never get it. They're it's not just ignorance. It's a very deliberate attempt to obfuscate the definition of violence insofar as it allows them to engage in COINTEL or counterintelligence and Antifa, but completely fucking ignore what the police or white nationalists do. It's a big fucking meme, but they know they're lying. So whatever.
Yeah, it's systemic lying. It's literally the whole society and the system is built around trying to make whatever it does get portrayed as good.
Yeah.
So that you don't question it, which is one of the things that we have to fight against.
It's a bad meme. Hey.
It's a bad.
Hey. Speaking of bad memes, I'm ready. You've warmed me up. Hit me up.
Okay.
Kill me. Do it.
Okay. This is the. So how close? This could be perfectly lined up. How close is the persona that you use in your streams to your actual self?
There is no persona.
There's no persona.
You can affirm.
You, straight up.
Confirm. Hyena?
What?
I act on stream how I act in person, right? There's basically no obfuscation.
I mean, you're a bit more performative on stream.
Bit more performative.
Right? Yeah.
That's the line there. I mean, I'm in front of people.
You annoy the shit out of our friends constantly with the fucking amazing memes and shit. No, he basically acts the same IRL. I'm not necessarily with me all the time, but,
Well, I don't, fuck you while saying amazing.
I mean, yeah, but,
Alright. There, that's the answer. There's not much of a difference at all.
Okay. So that was one thing that I wanted to like try and like fix, because going in, like, that's an important thing I think to like clarify, because I know people do act out. Some people do act out a lot more on like streams and on videos and stuff.
Yeah, I don't blame them for doing that or anything. For me, it defeats the purpose entirely. I love me. I love who I am and how I act, and for me, the idea of people developing any sort of affection or appreciation for something that fundamentally is not me, it feels like what the fuck's the point? It's not me. I'm here for this shit.
Okay, do you feel that you might have some issues with separating critique from actual callouts?
When it comes from the right, no. I'm very, very good at dealing with criticism from the right because they're like not even people to me. But when it comes to the left, the problem is the issue is this. I think this can be evidenced. If I'm not in a terrible mood, usually if people, like individuals that I trust, criticize something that I do or say, like if I'm feeling good about it, I feel like I do like an average job accepting that, maybe like slightly below average. But when I'm when I'm getting bombarded with a lot of really bad faith criticism, which happens anytime. If you're a public figure, that's going to be like 90% of the criticism you get. That's just a fact. It's very difficult for me to separate like the good faith from the bad faith, and I end up like looping them all together in bad faith and treating them appropriately.
Yeah, because I think that's one of like the, obviously, I mean, You've been in the shit show the past couple of days, so I'm assuming you know all about it.
Oh no. Yeah, it's pretty well, I can speak on that. Like, it's pretty, I would say it's fairly difficult, because what I am trying to do, I'm not an orthodox leftist in the sense that my the way I style my rhetoric, the way I try to put my persona and my content out there deviates from the orthodox perspective. So you have people like, for example, like Sean or Philosophy Tube or Three Arrows, and their approach towards this is very measured. They're careful, and I respect that. It's not an insult by any means. And as a product of their care, it's very difficult to find like problematic elements within their work. They're pretty universally beloved amongst leftists for good reason. They put a lot of effort into that. But I stream day to day, and I'm edgy. So I'm going to get like a lot of criticism from the left, and a lot of it is going to be really fucking stupid. From people who think that you can't be edgy and leftist at the same time, like it's bad to be both, or some dumb shit like that. I get a lot of that. A lot of people who will accuse me of being a bigot, in spite of what I would like to believe is pretty overwhelming evidence. It's dumb and it's frustrating. But what I have to recognize, and I acknowledge I need to get better at this, is that as a public figure who has chosen to style his content in this way, this is just an inevitable component. It is intrinsic to what I do, and that if I'm going to be moving forward, I need to be much more careful and cognizant with how I process that criticism and deal with the people who disagree with me.
Yeah, it's definitely that's good to. This is gonna be a little bit of a detraction here for a second, but I hate the people that immediately just go, okay, like, you fucked up a couple of times, I'd say a couple of fuck ups, and they just go immediately, okay, we'll just like never talk to Vouch ever again, like, or never think about him ever again. And I'm just like, that's not. How is that a good response to the situation at all? Like, that's not a measured response to like people. Like, if people do a screw up, what's the best possible bet you can do is to talk to them about it and try to like get them to like recognize that. Otherwise, you're not fixing anything, you're just ignoring the problem, or you're ignoring what you think is a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking stupid. It's bad from a variety of ways. For one, whether or not like you or anyone else likes it, people who disagree with you can still serve the interests of the broader leftist community. To adhere everyone, to essentially cancel anyone who doesn't fit like an extremely strict orthodox standard of behavior is to very deliberately ostracize people who would have otherwise benefited you to essentially no gain. People aren't very pragmatic in that sense, which is frustrating. And when I say they're not pragmatic, I mean they're fucking idiots. That's sort of my PC sort of obfuscation. It frustrates me very much. It's endemic of a broader problem in the leftist community, where a lot of people treat leftism like a clubhouse, where in order to be a leftist, you have to like abide by the clubhouse rules, and if you don't abide by them, you get kicked out, and everything within that clubhouse is curtailed towards the comfort and interest of the people already in there. That's not how political advocacy works. It's not how you build a stronger movement. It's also not how you win. That's not how you win the public space or win elections. It's very unpragmatic. It's very reactive, emotionally absorbed. I don't know. It's something. It's not good. I have a huge problem with how this is conducted, and in the past have expressed my umbrage with this in poor ways. I'm hoping to, in the future, calm down and explain a little bit more thoroughly and a little bit more unobjectionably why I think there are like serious problems within lefty communities.
Yeah, I think it's because you brought up Shoe on Head earlier on, which I think is a great example of the trouble some people have in being like, hey, you know what? Maybe someone is actually honestly changing their opinions and like becoming like more open to like leftist ideas, and we shouldn't just go, oh well, no, you said dumb bad things a while ago, like that's it, you said dumb stuff a while ago, fuck, you're out. Like you have to be perfect consistently forever, and that's all you can do.
She's a great example. Like, unironically, if you go on her Twitter these days, she spends like her entire time making fun of TERFs, making fun of like reactionaries, making fun of Nazis, supporting Bernie and Tulsi for the presidency. I don't get her Tulsi obsession, but Bernie 2020, whatever. And like making fun of Harris and Buttigieg and like that shit. Like, if you look at her Twitter, it's like it looks like a Twitter you'd expect from like a left leaning progressive like suck dem. But people treat her unironically like a reactionary because of like the I guess the Lauren Southern thing, which there was more context to. A lot of people like to brush over. It's frustrating, and it's not just because I like Shoe on Head, even though I do. Like, she's, I think, a very personable person, just generally fun to be around. But like, this makes me wonder, like, how many allies to the left have we ostracized or have decided to not get involved at all because they knew even though they had something to say, they wouldn't be able to meet the standards set for them by the community? Not just shitty white dudes like me either, but like people of color, trans people or whatever. They suffer from this as much as I do.
Yeah, I mean, to make it semi clear for your chat here, I am a trans woman. Just putting that out there, so you know, I Shoe on Head. Yeah, like I think that as far as trans stuff goes, she's always tried to be like kind of good. I don't think she's ever had like massive problems with that kind of stuff. And that's like kind of nice to see. And another good example of someone who I think like moved quite well to like being like more left was what's her name? Farron Meyer.
I'm not familiar.
You might have heard. She did like a lot of stuff with like Jordan Peterson and some people, and like was quite right leaning like 2 years ago. But she's like moved over, but she now like hangs out like ContraPoints and shit, and like is like very much more. It's like a Blair White that didn't, stay.
That didn't, yeah.
Didn't stay on that side.
If you want people to go left, screeching like about canceling them and about how they're done and they're a bigot or whatever, even if you're right, like even if you're correct, that's a bad way of doing it. If you want to move people over, like being kind and persuasive is always going to be more effective than being like harsh and preachy and judgy or whatever. This is something that I learned from Destiny, actually. You never, ever, ever, if you're trying to convince someone, want to call them an ism or an ist. You never want to call them a racist or sexist or transphobic or anything like that, because nobody thinks of themselves that way. Literally, like nobody. Even if you ask like a literal Nazi, they'll be like, oh, I'm not a racist. I just think that races work best in tandem with each other and that we should separate for the good of people. Like, they'll always have some shit like that. Maybe they know they're racist, but like that's the rhetoric people go by externally and internally. If you call people these things, they'll think like, what? I'm not racist. And then because you've already said something they think is wrong and stupid and prescriptive, they'll like stop listening to you. It's much better to say like, you like this thing you've done is racist, or I think you contribute to racism with this or this. It's just a small piece of a broader way in which rhetoric can like seriously make a difference in terms of being able to reach people.
Yeah, I think the biggest example I used for people to like try to like be like, hey, why we shouldn't just cast out people or just throw them away from any kind of like conversations and stuff is I compare it to like criminals and like prison, that kind of stuff. Like most leftists agree that prisons or like with criminals, we should rehabilitate them, right? We should be open to them and talk to them and help them try to like see stuff rather than just chucking them in a prison and forget about them for 40 years kind of thing. So if we would apply that to people who are committing like actual illegal stuff, shouldn't we apply that to people that are like just doing like, you know, occasionally like fuck up what they say and that kind of thing?
You don't understand. Society at large isn't a clubhouse. People should be able to be reformed there. Leftism is a clubhouse. No femoids allowed, okay? Only the most morally pure people get to come into the left tube house.
I'm a hopeful, okay? You gotta let me have that little ideal to like cling to, okay?
We'll get it. We're in a very new space, you know. The right doesn't have to worry about this as much because they have like funding going on behind the scenes. So there's an actual structured bureaucracy that's maintaining their presence online. The left, like if you're a big right-leaning YouTuber, you have like financial connections to billionaires. If you're a big left-leaning YouTuber, you're probably a dipshit who's still like streaming from your fucking garage or something. The level of organization on the right is much greater, which means the left is going to stumble more when it comes to these like social issues. But I think that we're going to get there. I am genuinely hopeful for like the future of leftist rhetoric and leftist unity online.
Yeah, I like to compare the whole left tube, bread tube, sort of whatever you want to call it, to like if you look at like feminism, like where they had like, you know, there were waves of feminism. It wasn't just one big movement that stopped. There were like waves, and each wave kind of built up on the ideas and the concept by the previous one. And I think we kind of see that with like, you see like waves of like new content creators who are like trying new things and doing new stuff and calling new things out and whatnot. And that's great because it means that we're actually seeing like people getting engaged and like trying new things, which is beneficial to everybody at the end of the day.
Yeah, we benefit from that, unquestionably. And the more we lax our standards for what is and is not acceptable behavior, I don't mean like let people be racist. I mean like let people change and grow and make mistakes without like bringing down the unilateral weight of the cancel hammer on them. The more we do that, the more people will get in, the more people will grow, the more the community will grow, the stronger we'll become. I believe very firmly in this.
Yeah. Anyway, so this has got very nice very quickly. So let's jump back to
let's make it. Yeah, wait, wait, you got to get this more heated.
This is getting way too, you know, it's way too kind. I need to
listen. I'm very personable, person to person. You know, I'm very charming and disarming. So you'll have to be on your toes to keep angry with me.
I'm also nice. People assume because of who I associate with that I'm an asshole. But
wait, who do you associate with?
Well, no, apparently I'm best pals with you and Peter Coffin, and that makes me a terrible person, is what I've been told on Twitter nonstop. Which I when they told me that, I was surprised. I was like, wait, really? I am? That's news to me.
I afford no moral consideration to the people who act like that. They are active enemies of the left. I
like to save them and laugh at them. That's what I do.
Yeah. I mean, deal with them however you like. I despise these people. Anyone like it's like why we add a little bit of ire if there's like a race realist black person or a transphobic trans person or an anti-feminist woman. Much in the same way, when people like sort of attack a community from within or a demographic from within, that's how I feel about these people. Lefties who are just like really like sensitive, always online people who don't really do anything to contribute to anything, but they're like really, really emotionally invested in the purity of their little clubhouse, so they lash out against people who do anything they disagree with. I genuinely despise these people. But I'm reformed Vosh now, okay? I'm gonna reach out to these people or ignore them completely.
You just like get like a little like you change your like icon to something else. It's just like you looking like down penitently, just like I've changed my ways. I'm a changed man.
As long as it's minimal change, because I'll have to do the same work again in a month when I get canceled another time.
That's fair. Okay, so anyway, back to would it be a fair comment to say that you use quite a lot of hyper masculinity in the way that you present and interact with your audience?
Definitely.
Do you think that you still bring quite a few toxic elements of that hypermasculinity over when you use it?
I bring some. I think that overall, though, my work subverts a lot of... I think that I work to subvert more of the hypermasculine elements than I unironically invoke. And that some of the elements of my behavior that are considered hypermasculine, I would rather be considered gender neutral. I mean, I'm a gender abolitionist. I want it all to be gender neutral. I don't give a fuck. But, like, for example, when I like boast about my sexual prowess or being strong or like brusque or whatever, usually I try to do so in a manner that is so over the top that people recognize I'm deliberately deliberately painting a satire of hypermasculine behavior. I've made it pretty clear in other instances. In reality, I don't really care about gender. I only go by he, him because it's just like convenient. Whatever. They handed the he, him to me. Like some point in my childhood, I kept it, whatever, it works fine for me, but I don't really care. And there are a lot of other ways that I try to subvert like the authenticity of my masculinity, from the perspective of a public persona. And I want to do that because I'm a gender abolitionist and I want to deconstruct what gender means in the eyes of many people. And I also do that because I just think it's kind of funny. In terms of the toxic elements that I bring, I mean, I'm definitely pretty confrontational and brusque and often angry. I don't know if these are like, I guess maybe when like I do it, it's toxically masculine, but like when women do it, I don't know. I definitely have some bad like behaviors. I definitely wouldn't deny that, but I don't feel like I carry elements of toxic masculinity, like men should never cry, or like, you know, man up, like deal with pain. Like I feel like I subvert these at every given opportunity. So I feel okay with what I do for the most part.
Yeah. I think the thing that I take with that hyper masculinity kind of thing is that it isn't just focused on the like, oh, you know, men don't cry thing. Like there is also with that there is this like big focus on being ultra confident, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to be not just confident, but you have to be so confident that it borders into narcissism or egotism. And I definitely felt like I mean the stream is gone. I can't really reference it very easily.
Yeah.
But the way that you responded there definitely seemed like a very, very egotistical response to people. Because it was, you know, pretty extreme.
Yeah,
that would be like toxic kind of thing.
It was a bad day. I have this because this is the second time it's happened in this specific issue. The earlier time this happened, it was with the trans tweet thing. I'm sure you're aware of that. I made a tweet that was like meant to just be a joke about me, but people interpreted it as transphobic. I stand by the original intent.
Yes, I remember the tweet.
Right. It was something along the lines of fucking trans people caring when I misgender. It's just typos, my fat hands, some shit like that. The obvious, I think any charitable reading of that tweet will show that even though it was kind of stilted and maybe like not like great optics, like I think it pretty clearly read as the joke is me. I'm fucking up with my typos and blaming other people. The joke is that I'm being like obtuse about it. But you know, I can't choose how people interpret what I put out there. So people interpreted it as like transphobic or whatever. And rather than like immediately apologizing or taking down the tweet or being like, yo, I fucked up on the optics on this one. Here was like the joke that I was trying to make. I spent like 6 hours in the next stream, like calling these people like dumb fuck subhumans. And the reason for that is because this particular aspect of lefty communities really upsets me. This is the second time this has happened. Hopefully it's going to be the last time. I think this triggers me more than literally anything else like in my entire life. So I hope that after I like lay out a bunch of streams where I discuss in a very principled way my problems with this, then maybe the antipathy goes down in the future because I know that I've addressed it to the best of my abilities. In terms of like that, like making me confident to the extent of being narcissistic, yeah, probably. Yeah, I was pretty. I was seeing red. I was real fucking mad, Gutian. I was fucking furious. That shit triggers the trigger. I need to have on my stream like a little like UI graphic up here in the top right. It can be like the trigometer, you know, and like on the days when like the levels up here at red, like 9.5, 9.2, that's when people got to watch the fuck out. Okay, that was a solid 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. Another one that I want to talk about was like kind of like a little bit referenced here by the whole like bad day thing. Mm-hmm. As far as it goes, this is the question where I'm like looking at it being like, this one might get like kind of rude. So we'll go with it.
Nah, hit me up.
I've seen mentioned by, I don't know if it was mentioned by you specifically because my memory is garbage and my preparation was terrible. Mm-hmm. But I've definitely seen like mentioned the you have a obviously neurodivergent sort of situation going on.
Yeah, I'm autistic.
Autistic, yeah, that's what I was thinking about it. But you've mentioned like autism normally kind of like being brought up as like a response to it when that sort of stuff happens, as like a not necessarily. I don't know if it'd be called an excuse as such, but it could be like mistaken for an excuse or like a defensive move.
I just so you know, a lot of the times when I do that, I invoke it ironically because most of the people who are saying this to me are like idpol dumb fucks. So like I'm trying to like snap at them by being like, "Oh, I'm autistic. You're criticizing my ability to move about a public space by limiting the extent to which I can express myself through my neurodivergence," or some like not like nonsense like faux woke language like that. I normally just do it to annoy them.
Yeah. So that's quite a common one that I've seen like being like brought up as like like you're passing the buck on to your like like your neurodivergence or that kind of thing, or like other mental stuff kind of stuff, which is quite a common one like thing people argue is like, oh, like that's just you like using as an excuse. You're not actually taking responsibility for your actions, sort of thing. Which is it's for some people it is a fair thing, but I think for some others it might just be there's more to it sometimes than just that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't I just so you know, like I don't think that I don't think that being autistic or being bipolar or having borderline personality disorder or whatever, I don't think any of these things are excuses for behavior. I am under no circumstances, not for myself and not for other people, would I ever accept like the presence of a neurodivergent condition as an excuse for poor behavior. I always hold the individual accountable for that.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the big things, like, because I'm open to this on my channel, so I don't have any problem sharing here. But like, I've got borderline personality, and so yeah, quite a big thing for that is that I do have to at some point be like, like while a lot of this stuff can be attributed to the sort of mental disorder that I have, at the end of the day, that's on me. Like, I need to be the one putting myself in the situation of trying to fix that problem, because I can't expect other people to recognize that I'm going to just freak out all of a sudden or whatnot.
Yeah. Wait, can I clarify something for chat super duper quickly?
You can definitely try.
Chat, just so you know, I'm not like fundamentally opposed to the concept of idpol. I'm opposed to the concept of idpol being used as a weapon to avoid actual discourse. With your trans, or if you're like black or whatever, if like your perspectives in life, your politics are going to be affected by your lived experiences. That's an example of idpol being valid and useful, a lens by which we can improve the extent to which we can help these people. When I have a problem with idpol is shit like you can't criticize me on this issue without being transphobic because I'm trans, or in that fucking LGBT Vice video where the two black guys were arguing and one of them was like crazy fucking dumb and being racist, and the one fucking white guy was like, I don't want to come in an issue with two black, I don't feel it's my place. That kind of shit bugs me. But idpol is a valuable tool. A lot of people use it inappropriately. I just want to make it clear my perspective on that.
Yeah, I definitely see quite a lot of the alternative thing from like centrists with idpol, where you try to mention any identity at all, and they'll just respond with like, "Oh, you don't need to use identities. Like, we're all just people." And you're like, "You can literally fuck off and die. I don't want to talk to you in a game. You can die in a game. I don't want to talk to you anymore."
Dude, everyone does this shit. Tim Pool with Andy New, I forget the name. Tim Pool with
Andy No. Yeah.
Andy No. Tim Pool with that one dumb fuck who got brained by Antifa was like, I can't believe people are supporting the attack of a gay Asian man. Who are the true homophobes? Like that's the worst idpol, and it's being unironically invoked by the right because it's just as detrimental to us as it could ever be beneficial. Good idpol, considering the perspectives of marginalized communities, can only ever help us. Bad idpol can hurt anybody, depending on who's using it.
I loved Steven Crowder weighing in on I can't believe people are attacking a gay journalist, and I was like, how are you this fucking like does he have like money for brains? Like, what the fuck's going on?
I can't talk about Steven Crowder without breaking YouTube's TOS. Like that. Like that's how.
Really?
Steven Crowder I hate more than any other human being alive. I'm not actually being.
I can agree with you on that one.
I'm not being like hyperbolic with that in the slightest. Like I actually go fucking red when I see Steven Crowder, like blind with rage, more than any other single person I've ever. Like I'm not being hyperbolic at all. It's one of the reasons I've been trying to do less of his videos. It unironically ruins my day to be exposed to that dumb fuck's content.
Yeah, I get that with like Jordan Peterson a lot. I hate him so much. Yeah, it's not like there's people where like I would like to rehabilitate most people, but Steven Crowder and Jordan Peterson might be the exception to that rule for me. I don't know if I could ever be okay with them. So I'm gonna be hypocritical there.
Seaman Chowder. That's what I'm saying.
So I think we've probably already covered this like a little bit. How do you feel about like tactical unity and all that kind of stuff? I'm pretty sure you're on board with all that
tactical
kind of shit,
unity.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work even with like right-leaning centrists if they recognize that Nazism is a threat. I'm very pragmatic in this respect. My allyship with people is based entirely on my belief that they can be beneficial to my political goals and not to like my belief in how good of a person they are. I don't give a fuck how bad of a human being someone is or how bad they may be down the line. If they're in this moment useful, as some people, even right-leaning people, might be against like the rising threat of white nationalism, that I consider them an ally for that context. I would always, I 100% support this.
Yeah, because that was a big thing we see from a lot of I'd call them your classic, your big bread tubers, the clubhouse boys. They hate, I don't think they hate, but they fear engaging in tactical unity so much because of what happens if they turn out to be a bad person down the line, kind of garbage. And it's like, well, people are going to blame you, but those people are people you should just ignore.
It's so fucking dumb. The right will astroturf with literally anyone. The right, if there's a fucking Minecraft YouTuber who like one day is like, isn't it like they'll like playing, they say, isn't it kind of weird? Like, isn't it a good thing to secure our borders? Like, I don't know. And that's like the only political thing they've ever said. The next morning they're going to wake up from a dozen emails from right-leaning YouTubers being like, I really agree with what you said. You know, too many people are silencing us for speaking the truth. Would you be interested in discussing this? Like they'll do anything. They'll agree with anyone under any circumstances, and it works to move those people further right. The same will happen with us. It is efficacious, and in the long term, it serves to bring people further over to the left.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of the dumbest things is like with this focus on like like purity kind of stuff is ridiculous, and it's going to be used by our movement to stop our movement from being successful, which is the dumbest thing ever. Which is like the thing, like ultimately we need to be like, hey, we're all communists, we all agree that fascism and capitalism is bad. Let's get rid of those, and then we can all fucking argue amongst ourselves. Like
100%, yeah.
Start there. Because I mean, that's when like it's like, oh, like no, we need to let's keep arguing amongst ourselves while the world is being destroyed by other people, and then like we'll turn around and be like, oh crap, well the world's already gone. I guess we fucked up now, haven't we? And it's no, we have to put it aside, and that's a thing that I've been getting better on. I think other people need to start like looking at that as an important thing to improve. Is there any topic that you wouldn't discuss or debate on? I'm curious for this one. This is a curious one.
Up until recently, I wasn't comfortable discussing the Jewish question because conspiracy is always really difficult to argue against. Not because the Jewish question is like good or right or anything. It's stupid as fuck. But because it can be really difficult just to argue with conspiratorial logic. I would never accept an argument from, for example, a flat earther. I would lose that argument. A flat earther who spent a bunch of time researching their shit can make a much more convincing argument than I can, because all I can really do is point towards some broad scientific consensus and be like, well, if you go far enough up, you can see the horizon curve. But they have answers for that and for a million things more. And because their answers are fractal, and they've always got this little bit of info or this little bit of info, which are either outright deceptive or point towards a picture that is not the one where they're suggesting it points to. But because they structure their sort of conspiratorial framework in that way, it's really difficult to argue with on the fly. But recently gotten better at that. Race and IQ shit is also really conspiratorial. That's something that I want to get into more as I deal with the alt-hype. Are you aware of the alt-hypes throwing down the glove?
I have no idea who alt-hype even is. You gotta fill me in on this.
The alternative hypothesis is an alt-right race realist YouTuber who's considered to be a member of the right-leaning intelligentsia. All their videos are very long and boring while they drawl on about studies and citing shit about how the skull shape and blah blah. It's the exact same distilled scientific racism we've seen in action for 200 years. It's just modernized. Anyway, he recently made a video 3 hours long, in which he calls me like stupid over and over and over again. I've watched a little bit of it. I'm waiting until after the move to watch all of it because fuck, it's boring. But it's really dumb. And I took a look at the sources that he uses for it, and they're like really fucking bad. I'm a sociology major, and I actually am accredited. Like I studied like proper methodology and good research and how to tell when research is bad. So I actually feel decently qualified digging into the sources on his website and pulling them apart. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll take some research. Apart from that, I understand I haven't even answered your question yet. Apart from that, I don't really think so. No, I can't think of a single topic. There's nothing I'm afraid to cover. Some conspiracy shit is like boring or stupid, but I could deal with it if I needed to.
Because I'll just say it's not just about like being afraid. Yeah, some stuff that's like you're like, this is the most pointless thing. I don't see any particular reason to discuss or debate this. Like there's some stuff like that kind of thing as well.
Maybe it would probably be stuff that's like that, like id pull stuff that's really relegated to the lived experiences of people. For example, like there are some issues that are sort of intrinsic to the trans community or the Black community or the Hispanic community or any number of marginalized groups that are so like intricate and nuanced and reliant upon having lived those experiences that I probably like I wouldn't even have anything interesting to say on them. Like I'd probably just steer clear for no reason other than because I don't want to sound like a dumb fuck. 1 second, I'm getting called out. What? Oh, and I don't like debating abortion and veganism. Those two arguments are boring and stupid as fuck. I'm tired of those fucking arguments. Thank you.
like it's like real like nice calm. They're just like, no, fucking abortion, fuck that.
Abortion's
shit. No,
abortion's stupid as fuck. The personhood argument can be like you can argue it based on like legal or philosophical precedents or whatever. Fuck that. Nobody fucking cares about that. If people intuitively think that a baby is a human life and by aborting it you're murdering it, you're literally never going to be able to change their mind. Not with any argument about like bodily autonomy either, like what Philosophy Tube did. Like those arguments are valid and true and should be used in court, but in terms of like convincing people, nah, fuck that. And vegans are infuriating to argue with, especially non-leftist vegans. Ask yourself if you're listening. I love you, buddy. We'll have our conversation soon, okay?
I'm like, I agree with veganism is probably like a good thing, but fuck with me, I love meat. God, I love meat so much.
I like t-shirts.
Take that any way you want.
No, I like t-shirts too, and my t-shirts were sewn together by like slaves and sweatshops. Like fucking whatever.
I know, and it's a bad thing, and I feel bad about it, but I guess I don't know. I'm just sometimes you're a hypocrite, and that's just unfortunately that's.
I don't believe my personal opinion on that is I believe that so I'm not a virtue ethics person. Okay, I don't give a fuck how good or bad a human being is. What I care about is the consequences of their actions. I believe that the sort of process of commodification in a global economy is made so abstract that people should not be held accountable for the consequences of engaging in commerce. So, for example, I don't believe that it's immoral for a person to buy blood diamonds or buy a computer where silicon was mined from slaves in Africa, or buy meat which was like processed with like the slaughter and torture of fucking bajillions of animals, or t-shirts which were sewn together in sweatshops. I feel like we have a moral obligation to tackle these systems from the top down, to break them apart, to make our systems more ethical. But as it so stands, to live a ethical life without touching any of the unethical systems we live within would lead to one being a hermit. I think that it's a moral good to be vegan. I don't think it's a moral wrong not to be vegan.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like that. Yeah, does buy into that whole like ethical consumption kind of thing, and how it's almost impossible to actually pull off. Which is, I think that's always one where like whenever someone mentions that, I immediately just like shut off to them as a person. Is when they bring up like stuff like, oh, like I start arguing communism or whatever, and they're just like, oh, so you buy stuff, so you engage in capitalism, so therefore like you're in capitalism. It's like, you can just actually go away. I don't ever want to talk. Yeah,
there are some people in chat who are really fucking triggered right now. In the West, we can just be vegan. It's a moral obligation. Why the fuck are you wearing t-shirts? Why are you using a computer that was built in part using minerals that were mined from the fucking African desert? What the fuck are you doing online right now? Don't you realize that the internet is like provided to you using the unpaid labor of tech intern? What the fuck are you doing? There's no way to live without like engaging in unethical commerce. I'm sorry. You should work to fix the systems to make those ethical, not morally impugn people. Like, what the fuck? Like, people, this is so fucking hypocritical. I take it back. This is why I don't discuss vegan issues, because they trigger me too. Two wrongs don't make a right.
We're already ramping. I see us ramping up again just to that.
Two wrongs don't make a right, Vosh, you greasy retard. Well, the fucking 87 wrongs that you engaged in to be able to reach a point in society where you can fucking post that dumbass shit in my YouTube chat don't make the 88 wrongs that I engage. You know what? I bet that if we split out all the shit that we do on a day-to-day, I can find one thing that you do that I don't do. I'm sorry, do you own a car? Don't you realize that owning a car is one of the greatest things you can do to contribute to fucking climate change? I'm sorry, do you buy your clothing from Walmart or Target, from any other of these places, where not only do these places come from fucking sweatshops that are sewn together by literal fucking children where there are suicide nets thrown out in front of the windows, but you realize that those fucking services are provided to you by people who are paid minimum wage and need to be subsidized by the states so their fucking children don't starve to death? You are a product of an unethical system. And if you want to choose to live your life a little bit more ethically than other people, that is a good thing. But for you to then go off and morally impugn other people because, you may engage in 98% of the bad behavior they do, but at least you got that 2% on them, fuck off. You do nothing good for society. You do nothing good for the environment. You do nothing good for animal kind by shifting the focus of pro-animal, pro-vegan argumentation as a moral burden to the consumer rather than a broader systemic issue that needs to be addressed. You people are so fucking infuriating. It actually fucking disgusts me. And you're the reason why I have no interest in engaging in vegan arguments in the future unless it's with the YouTuber I can make money off of collaborating with. Because you people are so fucking blind. All right, I'm sorry. All right.
No, I'm just sitting there fucking just like, we got it. We got the clip. That's it. That's all I needed. I just needed that. Now I'm sorted. I've got. I was waiting. I was like, you don't go on a Welsh stream and not expect at some point a little rant. You gotta hope, right?
It triggers the fuck out of me. It's like, if you want to be vegan, that's a moral good, and you can be proud of that good. Doesn't mean you get to shame other people for like that one specific. Go fucking ride a bike, sew your own clothes, never buy anything from anywhere because all the services that you use will be provided to you by capitalist exploitative fucking business owners who will underpay their workers. Go live out in the woods and then die because you couldn't feed yourself because you fucking have to kill an animal to get food out there and all the berries are poisonous. All right, I'm sorry. We got to move on or I'll spend the rest of the stream fucking around.
We're going to be stuck here forever if we don't get okay. So we're moving to some kind of like more prediction-y sort of things here. So what do you think next 5 years? What's some big shit that's going to go down in the world? Do you reckon? This is anything. I'm talking conspiracy theory as much as you want on this one. Go crazy.
9/11 too. No, I think that like right now we're like grasping desperately onto like the thin threads of faith in democracy here in the United States of America. I think that's going to be gone soon. I'm pretty sure like right now our democratic process is beyond fucked. It's been beyond fucked for a while in the sense that it's unethical. But right now it's beyond fucked to the extent that like Congress and the Senate are literally non-functioning. Like they are literally not working. They aren't doing what they need to do. And that's kind of fucking wild. And there's nothing that could be done about that without the deconstruction of the Republican Party and their like constant fucking obfuscation. Unless they get swept in the elections, but that's not going to happen because the Democratic Party is full of dumb fucks. I think that something is going to happen soon that's going to indicate like people are just going to flat out stop believing democracy can work. Like there's going to be a natural disaster or a war is going to start, and stonewalling from Congress or more likely from the Senate is going to prevent the government from being able to respond anywhere near competently, and people are going to wonder like why, like can democracy work? And then from that point we've got like two roads, right? You either say fuck no, democracy will never work. People are sheep. We need a strong leader to unite us and guide us into the future. And then we get fascism. Or people will say, well, hold on, maybe democracy isn't working. It's fundamentally not because of democracy itself, but because it's been infiltrated by like a whole bunch of systems of profit and exploitation, lobbying and business collaboration with politicians and fucking rent-seeking behavior. Maybe if we do something about that, democracy will function, and then maybe we can lean more towards like suck dem shit until we finally make the transition. I don't know. It's gonna be pretty fucking spooky though. People are gonna die.
Yeah. I definitely agree on the idea that it reminds me a lot of the kind of like the build up situations in definitely Germany, I think specifically because I'm saying people forget the fact that in Germany there was literally like fights between the communist parties there and the fascist parties because they were in a fucking terrible situation post World War One and everything was falling apart, and those two parties fought, and ultimately the fascists won because the system helped them, and then they took over, and then we got the Nazis. So it's like I feel like history like replicates itself quite nicely. So I kind of feel like maybe the world's getting pushed in that direction again, and
What's
maybe
more,
the drastic thing is
the
climate change.
global leftist community is nowhere near as strong now as it was back in the 1920s. 1920s, there was quite a bit more in the way of global like anarchist and communist sympathy, especially in the Western world. So we're actually suiting up for an even worse match than the one we lost the first time.
Yeah, so that's not the most promising thing going there. But you know what? We've got to, I don't know what, resurrect fucking Lenin. I don't know what the plan is here.
Hey, listen,
something drastic.
Okay, listen. The IWW doesn't like it when you broadcast their plans like that. All right, calm the fuck down. Nobody's doing shit with Lenin, as far as we know.
Look, you just ignore the secret facilities and the fucking cloning chambers. Nothing's happening. Don't talk. We don't talk about it.
I'm not even a fucking ML, but if Lenin came back, like fuck it, it's better. It's better than what we've got. Absolutely.
I mean, Lenin wasn't a troll. Like Lenin, like when the more like he wasn't as bad as I thought he was. I had a lot like I thought he was basically like Stalin, like a Stalin light, but he was nowhere near like as bad as that.
I had that same transition too, because initially the only thing I knew about like authoritarian communists was Stalin and like tankies, and they'll meme about like the fucking DPRK being like a glory of democracy or whatever, that shit. But then I looked more into it, and like Lenin was actually a pretty fucking good memer, you know? Lenin was actually a pretty dank ass memer. He did some pretty fucked up stuff later in his life when he realized, because the problem was like he had dreams for revolutionary socialism that were designed to function in a society that had already undergone automation and the social processes which come about through capitalism. So he had to apply this to essentially a feudal state, and that like fucked things up a little bit. But like, yeah, he was a good ass memer. I want to read The State. What's it called? Politics in the State. What's the name of his book? My brain's blanking right now. I want to read it sometime. He's supposed to be a funny writer, actually. Like there's some good comedy in there.
Shit, that's good, because you know I had to read fucking
State and Revolution.
Yeah, I had to read the fucking Mein Kampf for a video I did. Hitler was as bad a writer as he was at everything else he did in his life.
Yeah,
it's serious. It's actually the first two chapters of that though are a great view into the fascist versus communist shit going down in Germany and Austria at the time, because he like talks about like how like, you know, the communists were going around handing out like flyers and shit to the German workers and being like, hey yo, you need to rise up. And he was like, no, like, because I know these people are being controlled by the Jews and whatnot. And then it went down his whole Hitler's, you know, crazy shit.
Yeah.
But before that, he had like a great chapter where it's literally just talking about that worker situation, because he was a worker, he was a laborer for a bit in Austria. So like it's like I was doing that, I was like, oh shit, like I didn't realize it was like this like close to the ground, kind of like, you know, they were literally competing with each other sort of thing.
I mean, nobody thinks they're evil, right? Even a fascist, if given the opportunity, is going to write a compelling story on the, you know, the glory of their movement and the validity of their cause. It's very, very rarely. What was that? I mean, Three Arrows literally just did a video on this, I think. Have you seen it? About how, like, the psychology of the Nazi officers who, during the Nuremberg trials, like, they were actually A-okay. I think we need to be reminded of that. I mean, think of all of like the crazy ass violent revolutionary shit that me and a bunch of people in chat would be totally willing to support if it came in front of our side. All you have to do is change a couple of the axiomatic values and change how you believe the world is being run, and you could justify the exact same kinds of violence against like the Jews or whatever. I'm not saying this is a both sides thing. I'm just saying that the psychology of a Nazi, it's not as aberrant as we like to pretend it is. I say these people are subhuman because because my definition,
you're just trying to get banned. That's what you're trying.
Exactly, because my definition of a mental illness is broad enough to encompass fascism. I'm very much of the opinion that fascism is a sickness. So that's my.
But yeah, I think that's the thing that like I think people forget when we talk about like all those like people from like other ideologies and shit, is that at the end of the day they are still people. They have very similar ways of being influenced that we do. So why would we not expect that like some of the stuff to translate there? That's the thing that like is I think gets ignored a lot in trying to like make them seem less like ourselves, because it's easier that way. I think, you know, you have to be like, oh, you know, given another like set of circumstances in my life and like maybe some shitty things happening, and I might have ended up being a fucking Nazi. Like, I don't know. Like, that's entirely plausible. Like, I don't know, but like, I know that kind of scares people sometimes, that idea.
Because it's a tough bullet to bite. We like to believe that being good is this intrinsic characteristic that people can call upon if they're like raised well in society. That aberrant behavior, violence, and what have you is a product of some thing we can pinpoint at some point of development. It's a process of medicalization where we try to distill human sociability down into a series of graphs, line charts, and diagnoses. But in reality, the difference between what is wildly antisocial behavior and what is totally fine behavior usually relies fundamentally on a really subtle philosophical difference that most people aren't even qualified to understand it themselves. So, yeah. Tough shit.
Yeah, I like when you started saying there, like people want to find like qualify like what like how we can like quantify like bad down to like a specific set of circumstances. I just like I don't know why, but I just heard like JF or some shit like just being like, well, actually, I've got some really good race realist stuff for you there that might help out. And it's like that's like literally them. It's like, hey, I think we can clarify that like race equals badness, and it's like fuck right off with that idea.
We don't need to talk about JF here, okay? I've got opinions.
He's I think about him occasionally, you know. Sometimes it's like pop into my head, and I'm just like, oh no.
I dropped it on his stream recently. He was I was linked to it from one of my viewers because he was going over the video that Alternative Hypothesis made on me. He was going over that video because even he believed that the Alternative Hypothesis had made some dumb fuck statements in it. And when race realists are targeting race realists over their inaccuracy and criticizing a fucking anarchist, you know you've got a quality fucking video. They apparently have some beef with each other, JF and Alt Hype. Whatever the case is, I dropped in on chat and he was actually quite friendly towards me, which was pretty funny.
Huh. Whack. You don't expect that, do you? Not from the weirdest places sometimes.
I get. I mean, I'm actually pretty nice to fascists who show up in my DMs, or like Nazis. If these people like they DM me and they're like, yeah, like you don't think like the Jew, like you recognize Israel's a problem. You don't think like killing the Jews. And I can actually have a pleasant conversation with these people. I want them dead, but I just don't think there's much benefit to like getting really angry with them in a one-on-one. Like nobody gains from it, so might as well just be pleasant.
There's no win there. You just all they're gonna do is just make some content on you in like a couple of weeks time, talking shit about you. Yeah. With that DMs, yeah. If you do anything, like I
want them dead in my. I'm sorry, I apologize. I run a community Minecraft server. Sometimes they DM me and say that stuff, and then I run over and I set fire to their house and I push them into lava. Okay, it's griefing, but it's not TOS.
But yeah, so that's where you see the world in the next 5 years. What about your channel specifically? You and doing whatever you're doing with your leftist content.
I'm an extremely ambitious person. I want to go huge. I want to be the foremost leftist streamer. Hassan right now is the foremost leftist streamer. I want to usurp that place. I think that the work I do is valid. I think that I can do it very, very well. Soon, in a couple of days, I'm going to be moving to a new house in Seattle. I'm going to have my own bedroom that I'm setting up as a studio. I'm going to have some dope-ass internet. You folks, you see this shit? You see this fucking 1080p, 30 frames per second? Fuck that. We're getting 4K, 60 FPS, and we're going to be doing it using a camera that can pick up the individual pores on my skin. I want to upgrade that shit. I want it fucking crispy. There are going to be so many P's going out. I'm going to get a second monitor, stream setup. I've been wanting this for literal fucking ages. My desk right now just doesn't have the room. There's literally no physical room to put the desk on, or the second monitor on. I want that shit. I want to maybe hire an editor that I can pay like a percentage of my YouTube ad revenue, get those videos going out daily, cleaner editing, better cuts. I want everything to be improved. I want to do this consistently, have a manager. My partner is considering being my manager. I guess she's already acting in the function of one, contacting people, setting up appointments and schedules, debating everyone under the sun, fighting everyone under the sun, tackling issues in videos, setting up schedules, different, this can be like Menshevik Monday. I don't know. This is dumb fuck Tuesday. I don't give a shit. We're going to find ways to organize this content, and I want to go as big as it is possible to go. There is no limit to my ambition.
So it's a good. You know what? You gotta aim high, right? Aim high, fall low. but at least you aimed high. That's the important stuff.
I think I can
Always
do it.
start there.
I think that there's a genuine need for the kind of content that I produce. And
Yeah.
right now my growth is stalling very slightly because my streaming and video uploads have been spotty, move upcoming and what have you. Generally speaking, I seem to be on the rise pretty quick. I think that I can facilitate this, continue to facilitate this as long as I'm responsible and business savvy with how I promote myself. And I want to be. I want this to become an enterprise of sorts, to delegate as much responsibility to other people as possible so I can focus on what I like doing most, which is streaming, to up my hours a week from 15 to 25 to 35 to 40. That's the goal. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I've got one final question, and I've got some probably wrap up statements I want to make. That's all good. So the final question, this is probably the most important one out of all of these questions. Do you listen much? Do you watch any anime stuff?
Are you fucking kidding me? I've got
I don't know. Some people look like they watch anime, and then I ask them, and they're just like, "Of course, I don't fucking watch anime." I'm just like,
stream can see right now. This right here is a large duffel containing approximately $2,500 worth of anime prints that I've purchased over the course of 5 years from Anime Expo. Yeah, I'm a fan of anime.
Yeah, that's a promising sign. Okay, so I love anime opening songs, right? That's one of my big things. I fucking love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I've narrowed it down to two. If you had to pick between Flyers by Bradio or Period by Chemistry as the best anime opening songs, which one?
Oh god, I'm so sorry. I don't know the songs divorced from their actual opening. Can you give me the OPs like that go with the songs? That's just how I remember
Alchemist
them.
Brotherhood.
Okay.
It's like the fourth opening song,
Mhm.
and that's Period by Chemistry. It's so fucking good. And then Flies by Radio is from Death Parade.
The Full Metal Alchemist one.
Full Metal Alchemist one?
Yeah.
I you know what? I can't. I see what you're talking about. It's a solid. It's a banger.
My favorite, which is funny though, it's funny to me that you say that's your favorite from the FMA lineup, because for me, FMAB's first OP, the that one, I think that one's the biggest fucking banger of the lineup.
That I think that is the one I'm talking about.
So that'd be from the first one?
I think no, but yeah, actually no, I don't want to talk about now. No, fuck me. That's a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is some good anime.
Some good ass shit.
Also, I'm watching your stream chat. And I just want to I want to have a little vouch moment here. But the person who fucking said that anime openers are all the fucking same, you need to go and die in Minecraft. You are dead. You are stupid, and you need to get the fuck out of here. Okay.
You know what really frustrates me actually about streaming? I really, really want to be able to do more media critique stuff. I actually have pretty strong opinions on a lot of media. I've done animation critique streams in the past. The problem is that I get absolutely fucking absolutely drenched in cum from YouTube's copyright ID system when I try to do that. Any more than 5 or 10 seconds of a song or any visuals, it's so fucking frustrating. I want to be able to do this, but if I'm going to, I have to do it super fucking carefully. I can do it on D Live, I guess. You didn't know I like Wait, Mama Lesbian, you didn't know I like FMAB? FMAB is literally one of the most normie entry tier animes around, and I talk about more esoteric anime pretty fucking often. Of course I like FMAB. Everyone likes FMAB.
It's amazing. It's great. It's a classic example of one of the best, an amazing anime. It's just well put together, character-wise and everything.
Pretty hard not to like.
Yeah, it's impossible to not like it, I think, if you like any anime at all.
Yeah.
So that was the final question. I wanted to end on the big one, an important one.
I've actually really enjoyed speing with you, by the way.
Yeah, I actually just have some quick statements I want to just throw up that hopefully
throw them out there, toss them to the wind.
Yeah. There was, I can't remember what they were called now. It was the Socialism 101 or something like that was the username, but way back 4 months ago when I just started out. They gave you a massive donation, shouted my channel out, and that overnight doubled my sub count back then, and that was, I just want that's kind of thing that there, that was massive for making me be oh shit, people actually like my channel or like my stuff enough to pay people money to talk about me, how good I am. That's a really big thing, just get people engaged and oh shit, I'm not actually a fucking terrible content creator or whatever.
I don't think you're a terrible content creator.
I do every day. I think I jump. I'm I'm the best, and I'm half an hour later, I'm like, I'm the worst, and I just bounce in those two.
It's really difficult work dealing with. There's nothing of the human psyche is designed to deal with the scrutiny of so many people simultaneously.
Yeah, it's so. I think it's very tricky on like your mentality and stuff to do it. But yeah, the final like closing out statement here is I just want to say thanks for the talk. It was actually went pretty well. I'm actually kind of happy with how this one went. I just think I feel like a lot of what I want to do with especially people who have quite a lot of subs and have a lot of like audience interaction stuff is try to show that like I mean you are a person at the end of the day. You're humanization kind of thing. Like you're a human who has big opinions and like people pay you money and stuff to do that, but it doesn't make you any less of a person. You still fuck up.
I try my best. Yeah. There is a problem with there's a simultaneous problem of fuck, what's it called? Damn it, hyena. What's the term? Social relationship with parasocial. There's a simultaneous problem with like parasocializing relationships with figures online and also completely dehumanizing them. I don't think a lot of people like recognize the fact when I'm streaming. I'm like right now it's hot in here. I'm just a sweaty dude in a chair. Like I'm literally like you, except probably bigger and just sitting in a chair, and I'm in front of a mic and I'm physically uncomfortable right now because I'm sweaty. And that's it. Like that's it. Then I'll get up and go lie down and air out my ball sack on the bed naked. Like it's like that is very much the extent of who I am. So so I want that to be recognized. The ball sack thing is very important to me.
Yeah, I think they did. That's what I wanted. That's what I like tried to do with like you might have seen the open letter or whatever as the thing I had that like kind of blew up a little bit and then caused panic attacks and shit because isn't that just great?
Yeah.
But that was the thing like, for me with that whole thing was like we need to stop like idolizing big bread tubers and shit. We need to recognize that at the end of the day we're all leftists and leftists believe people are fucking people, right? And we're all equal and none of us are inherently better because of our audience or better because of whatever.
I'm pretty fucking rad. TBH.
But you are rad, but there are a bunch of people out there who are also rad.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, please.
Like, your little inside, you're just like, no.
On your way out, aggressively plug your channel, please.
Yeah. So the channel is Gutian. I make content about whenever I get the time or I get bored, which is like last week I did a video every day. I've been like making like content maybe like 2 or 3 times a week pretty consistently. I've got a Jordan Peterson one coming up. I did a really good couple of like videos on like trans people and shit because talk about what you know. And yeah, I think that if you like good content, then you should come to me because I've got pretty fucking good content. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. It's better than Philosophy Tube. I'm better than Philosophy Tube. I'm gonna say it here.
And hey, chat, you'll never know unless you go and watch.
Yeah, dude, Ollie sucks dick. I'm way better than that.
Can I, on your way out, listen? Can I get a trans rights for the chat?
Of course you can get a trans rights. Trans rights are human rights. Everyone, it's fucking just obvious, right?
Okay, one more thing. Do you love black people?
I think that's an amazing question, but only a beta would answer that.
Get the fuck out of here. Go. Get out. Shoo.
See ya.
All right.